Alex, I spent 3 hours yesterday watching my printer perform a mechanical ballet, swapping filaments back and forth like it was trying to win a talent show. I ended up with a gorgeous three-color turtle and a pile of poop filament that weighed more than the actual reptile.
The classic AMS tax. You wanted a pet, but you built a plastic factory instead. Honestly, Tiger, I look at those multi-material units and I see a lot of moving parts just waiting to turn into a bird's nest. Is it actually getting easier, or are we just getting more patient with the chaos?
It's a bit of both, really. We've come a long way from the days when multicolor meant you stood by the machine with a stopwatch and a prayer, hoping to pause it at exactly the right layer to shove a new string of plastic in there. Now, the tech is doing the heavy lifting, but the logic behind it, that's still where the art is.
Well, today we're diving into the deep end of the rainbow. We're talking multicolor and multi-material strategies. And for the folks listening who think this is just for making pretty trinkets, Tiger has some thoughts on why this actually matters for the real builders too.
Absolutely. If you're just thinking about aesthetic stripes, you're missing the forest for the trees. We're talking about printing soft touch grips directly onto hard tool handles, or using dissolvable supports so you can print geometries that would otherwise be physically impossible. It's about expanding the toolkit, not just the crayon box.
Let's start with the basics for the person who just unboxed their first printer. The single extruder method. It's what most of us have. It's the entry fee to the club.
Right, and there's two ways to skin that cat. You've got the manual swap, which is basically babysitting. You tell the slicer to park the head at a certain height, you yank the red out, jam the blue in, and keep going. It's great for signs. I did a shop sign last week where the base was walnut-colored PLA and the letters were high-vis orange. Simple, clean, and you don't need any fancy hardware.
But it's limited to layers, right? You can't exactly do a polka dot pattern on a flat surface that way.
Exactly, you're building a birthday cake, not painting a mural. If you want the mural, that's where things like the AMS or MMU come in. These are the robotic valets for your filament. They sit on top of the printer and shove the right color down the throat of the machine whenever the code calls for it.
And that's where the poop comes in. Explain the purge to me, because to a casual observer, watching a printer spit out perfectly good plastic into a bin feels like a personal insult to my wallet.
It's the rinsing the brush problem. If you're painting a wall red and you want to switch to white, you can't just dip the brush in the white and keep going, or you'll get pink for the next 10 feet. The printer has to clear out the old melt zone. So it moves to the side and extrudes a blob or prints a purge tower until the color is pure.
I've seen some of those towers. They look like architectural brutalism made of discarded dreams.
They can be massive. I've had prints where the waste material actually costs more than the part. That's the trade-off. You get incredible detail, colors side by side on the same layer, but you're paying a tuition in wasted grams.
Okay, so if the waste is the big hurdle for single nozzle machines, what about the dual-headed beasts? I've seen the IDEX printers, independent dual extruders. They look like they're having a synchronized swimming match.
IDEX is the pro move for a lot of reasons. You've got two separate carriages. While nozzle A is printing the red, nozzle B is sitting in the dugout staying warm, but not touching the work. The beauty there is zero cross-contamination. No pink streaks in your white clouds. And since nozzle B isn't dragging across the print while it's idle, you don't get those nasty ooze artifacts that plague the cheaper dual nozzle setups.
But I bet the calibration is a nightmare. Aligning two nozzles to the sub-millimeter level so they don't crash into each other or leave a gap.
It'll make you want to go back to whittling wood with a dull pocket knife sometimes. If your X offset is off by even a hair, your two colors will have a parting of the Red Sea. Look down the middle of the print. But once you nail it, it's magic. You can use one head for your part and the other for PVA. That's water-soluble support material. You finish the print, toss it in a bucket of water, and an hour later, the supports have vanished like a ghost, leaving you with moving parts or crazy internal cavities.
See, that's the functional side I like. But then there's the tool changer, the E3D style. That's the Iron Man of printers.
Oh man, now you're talking my language. Instead of two heads, you might have 4 or 5 tools hanging on the back fence. The printer head goes back, drops off the 0.4 millimeters nozzle with PLA, and picks up a 0.6 millimeters nozzle loaded with carbon fiber nylon. It's the ultimate flexibility. It's fast, it's clean, and there's almost zero waste because you aren't purging a shared nozzle. But you better have a stable workbench and a deep pocketbook because those machines are complex bits of kit.
We've talked hardware, but the brain is the slicer. I've seen you painting 3D models on your screen. It looks like a video game.
It's gotten surprisingly intuitive. In something like Bamboo Studio or Prusa Slicer, you can literally take a virtual paint bucket and dump color onto a face of the model, or use a brush to draw a racing stripe down the side. The software handles the logic of when to swap the filament.
What's the biggest mistake beginners make when they start painting?
They forget about the inside. If you just paint the skin, you're fine. But if you have a translucent filament, like a white PLA, and you have a dark blue support structure or infill bleeding through from the inside, it looks like your print has a bruise. You have to think about wall thickness and infill color.
Wait, so the color of the invisible inside of the part can ruin the outside?
Everything is connected in 3D printing. If I'm printing a white vase with black stripes, I usually set my flushing volumes extra high when going from black to white. Otherwise, that white is going to look like a dirty sidewalk for the first 3 layers after the swap.
Let's pivot to the high end, the stuff the big labs use. We're talking full color versus multicolor, because there's a distinction there that confuses people.
It's the difference between a box of 8 crayons and a photo quality inkjet printer. What we've been talking about is multicolor, using discrete, pre-colored sticks of plastic. Full color usually happens in the world of material jetting or binder jetting.
Like the stuff LS Precision or Stratasys does?
Exactly, think of it like a giant 2D printer that also builds height. They might have CMYK inks, cyan, magenta, yellow, black, and they mix them on the fly. You can print a 3D model of a human heart that looks exactly like the real thing, down to the tiny veins and the gradient of the tissue.
I'm not sure I want a hyper-realistic heart on my desk next to my coffee.
Maybe not, but for a surgeon planning a bypass, it's a literal lifesaver. Or for a toy designer who wants to see the final product graphic on the prototype before they spend $50,000 on an injection mold. That's where direct color printing pays for itself 10 times over.
What's the catch? Why don't we all have full color machines in our garages?
3 words: post, processing, mess. A lot of those technologies involve powders or resins that require chemical baths, UV curing, or a level of housekeeping that would make a clean room technician sweat. FDM, the stuff we use, is dry. You finish the print, you pop it off the bed, and you're mostly done. These high-end systems are wet or dusty. They're industrial tools, not hobbyist toys.
Speaking of mess, let's talk about the shop horrors. You can't tell me your multicolored journey has been all rainbows.
Oh, I had a Spoolmageddon about a month ago. I was printing a topography map, 5 different colors of green and brown. About 18 hours in, one of the spools had a tangle. The AMS unit didn't realize it, so it just kept trying to tug the filament. It eventually pulled the entire unit off the top of the enclosure.
No, did it crash?
It didn't just crash, it did a slow motion somersault. I walked in and found my printer strangling itself with 4 different colors of PLA, like it was caught in some neon-colored spiderweb. The print was ruined, the motor was screaming, and I just had to sit there and laugh. If you can't laugh at a $20 pile of plastic spaghetti, you're in the wrong hobby.
Did you salvage any of it?
I kept the failed map. It's got a weird, stretched out look where the filament was thinning out as it was being pulled. I call it the map of the earthquake zone. It's a reminder that hardware is only as good as the guy who wound the spool.
That's a good lesson. It's not just the printer, it's the supply chain. If you're doing multi-material, one bad spool among the 4 can kill the whole project.
That's the multiplier effect. In a single color print, you have a 5% chance of a filament failure. In a 4-color print, you've just quadrupled your odds of something going sideways. You have to be meticulous. Clean your rollers, dry your filament, especially that PVA support stuff, because that stuff sucks moisture out of the air like a sponge in a rainstorm.
So for the maker listening right now, who's eyeing a multi-material upgrade or and IDEX machine, what's the Tiger Seal of Approval advice?
Don't buy it just for the pretty. Buy it for the possibility. Start by mastering pause at height. Learn how the machine handles a swap. Get a feel for how much purge you actually need so you aren't wasting plastic.
And don't be afraid of the poop.
Don't be afraid of the poop, but also look into purge into infill. Most modern slicers let you take that wasted transition plastic and hide it inside the walls of your object where nobody can see it. It saves time and material. It's like hiding your sweepings under the rug, but it actually makes the rug stronger.
I think the real takeaway here is that 3D printing is finally moving past the monochrome era. Whether you're doing a medical model or a fancy tool handle, color is just another dimension of the design.
Exactly. It's not a gimmick anymore. It's a language. When you can print a part where red means don't touch and green means handle here, or where a soluble support lets you build a working gearbox in one shot, that's not just a hobby. That's manufacturing.
Well, Tiger, I think I'm actually inspired. I might go home and try to paint a Tiger Den logo onto my next benchy.
Just make sure you dry that filament first, Alex. I don't want to hear about any spiderweb disasters on the next episode.
No promises.
Thanks for hanging out with us in the den. Now go make something colorful, and don't forget to empty the waste bin.
We'll see you next time.